Economy. Don't complain. This is all you can handle. My fiancé said that to me at the airport check-in counter, in front of 20 people, while handing me an economy ticket and walking off to business class with his mother. Good evening. Wing Commander Sarah Mitchell here. And I'm about to tell you about the day my fiancé tried to humiliate me on our flight to his father's funeral, not knowing I was actually a decorated RAF pilot with 2,000 flight hours and personal connections to the airline CEO. But here's what made this beautiful. I didn't just embarrass him back. I exposed a fraud scheme he'd been running for 2 years, got him arrested at baggage claim, and took back the £40,000 engagement ring he'd bought with stolen money. All before we left the airport. By the end of this story, you'll understand why you should never, ever try to humiliate someone in public without knowing exactly who they are. Because Marcus Whitmore thought he was marrying a simple flight attendant. What he was actually engaged to was a wing commander who could make one phone call and ground his entire operation. This is that story. And the look on his face when he realized? Absolutely priceless. Stay with me. This gets delicious. Let me set the scene for you. I'm Sarah Mitchell. At the time, I was engaged to Marcus Whitmore, investment banker, family money, the type who introduces himself by mentioning his salary. We'd been together 18 months. His father had just passed away in Edinburgh. Heart attack. We were flying from London Heathrow to Edinburgh for the funeral. Marcus, his mother Philippa, and me. Now here's what you need to understand about Marcus. He'd always been, let's call it status conscious. He drove a Porsche he couldn't quite afford, wore Rolex watches he bought on credit, insisted on dining at restaurants where the menus had no prices. But I'd overlooked it, thought it was insecurity, thought he'd grow out of it. I was wrong. We arrived at Heathrow Terminal 5 at 6 a.m. I'm in a simple black dress, appropriate for a funeral. Marcus is in a bespoke suit. Philippa's dripping in pearls and judgment. Marcus walks up to the British Airways check-in counter, hands over his and Philippa's passports. 2 business class seats to Edinburgh, he says smoothly. Then he turns to me.
And smirks. Oh, Sarah.
I booked you an economy. Thought you'd be more comfortable there. Business class can be a bit much for some people. I blinked. I'm sorry. Economy, he repeated louder. People were starting to stare. Don't complain. This is all you can handle. Besides, my mother and I need to discuss estate matters privately. Family business. You understand. Philippa nodded, clutching her Hermes bag. It's quite generous of Marcus to bring you at all, dear. Economy is perfectly adequate for someone of your background. The check-in agent looked uncomfortable. Other passengers were watching now. And here's what Marcus didn't know, what neither of them knew, and this is crucial. I wasn't a flight attendant. I'd never been a flight attendant. I was Wing Commander Sarah Mitchell, RAF. Recently retired after 16 years of service. Over 2,000 flight hours. Former military liaison to British Airways during Operation Pitting in Afghanistan. And the CEO of British Airways? James Crawford? We'd flown humanitarian missions together in 2021. But I didn't say any of that. Not yet. I just smiled, took my economy ticket, and said, "Thank you, Marcus." How thoughtful. He looked pleased with himself. Philippa actually smirked. They walked off toward the business class lounge. And I pulled out my phone. I didn't go to economy boarding. I walked to a quiet corner near the lounge and made one call. James? It's Sarah Mitchell. Yes, I know it's early. Listen, I need a rather unusual favor. 5 minutes later, I had what I needed. Then I made a second call. This one to RAF Breise Norton. To my former commanding officer, Group Captain Helen Marks. Helen, it's Sarah. Remember that financial fraud investigation I flagged last year? The one involving civilian contractors? I need you to pull a file for me. Marcus Whitmore. Investment banker. I think he's been laundering through military supply contracts. Helen was quiet for a moment. Sarah, are you sure? I'm at Heathrow. He just tried to humiliate me in public. And I've had suspicions for months.
Can you check?
Give me 10 minutes. I waited. Watched Marcus and Philippa through the lounge windows, sipping champagne, laughing.
My phone rang.
Helen.
Sarah.
You were right. Marcus Whitmore has been receiving payments from a shell company linked to falsified mod equipment contracts. We've been building a case for 6 months. Where is he right now? Terminal 5. About to board a flight to Edinburgh. Don't let him board. I'm contacting mod police. They'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up, smiled, and then I walked into the business class lounge. Marcus was sitting in a leather armchair, scrolling through his phone. Philippa was reading Tatler. I walked up to their table, stood there until Marcus looked up. Sarah? What are you doing in here? This lounge is for business class passengers only. I know, I said calmly. I'm here to tell you something important before we board. He sighed dramatically. What now? Is economy not comfortable enough? I told you. Marcus, I interrupted. I'm not a flight attendant. He blinked. What? I've never been a flight attendant. I don't know where you got that idea. Actually, I do. You assumed. Because I wore a uniform to a charity event last year. But it wasn't a flight attendant's uniform. Philippa set down her magazine. Then what were you wearing? I pulled out my military ID. Slid it across the table. Royal Air Force. Wing Commander. 16 years of service. Retired last year with full honors. I've flown C-17s, coordinated international evacuations, and served as military liaison to this airline during the Afghan withdrawal. Marcus went pale. You're in the military? I corrected. Now I'm a civilian. But I still have connections. Which is why about 10 minutes ago I called my friend James Crawford, the CEO of British Airways. We evacuated 800 people from Kabul together. The color drained from Philippa's face. I explained to James that my fiancé had deliberately humiliated me at check-in, booked me in economy while he and his mother enjoyed business class. James was rather upset about that. He's upgraded me to first class, and he's asked me to pass along a message. I leaned forward slightly. British Airways takes the treatment of military personnel very seriously, especially decorated officers. Marcus, your business class seats have been downgraded to economy. Both of you. You'll be sitting in row 42. Middle seats. Marcus's mouth opened. No sound came out. But here's the interesting part. I continued. While I was on the phone with James, I made another call. To my former commanding officer. Because you see, Marcus, I've been suspicious about your income for months. The Rolex you can't afford. The Porsche you lease. The lifestyle that doesn't match your actual salary. I pulled out my phone. Showed him the email Helen had just sent. Mod Police Investigation. His name. The Shell Company. You've been receiving payments from falsified Ministry of Defense contracts. Equipment that should have gone to soldiers was marked up, overcharged, and the profit was funneled through your accounts. We're talking £340,000 over 2 years. Philippa gasped. That's not possible. Marcus would never. The mod police will be here in 15 minutes, I said calmly. They'll be escorting Marcus to a holding facility. I suggest you call your solicitor. Marcus stood up abruptly. You can't do this. You have no proof. I have 16 years of experience documenting fraud in military operations, I said. And the mod has been building a case against your shell company for 6 months. They were waiting for the right moment to arrest you. I checked my watch. That moment is now. And right on cue, 2 mod police officers walked into the lounge. What happened next was rather spectacular. The mod police identified themselves. Read Marcus his rights. The entire business class lounge went silent. Passengers were filming on their phones. Marcus tried to argue. This is a mistake. I'm on my way to my father's funeral. One of the officers looked at his file. Mr. Whitmore, your father passed away 3 days ago. The funeral was yesterday. According to your travel itinerary, this trip was to Edinburgh to meet with your solicitor about the estate, not to attend a funeral. I blinked. You lied about the funeral? Marcus couldn't meet my eyes. The officer continued. You were planning to access estate funds before your siblings could contest the will. That's fraud as well. Philippa burst into tears. Marcus, what have you done? They handcuffed him, right there in the lounge, escorted him out through Terminal 5, past the check-in counters where he'd humiliated me an hour earlier. I followed at a distance, watched him being walked past the same 20 people who'd witnessed his smirk. This time, they were all watching him. At baggage claim, because of course they processed him there for maximum visibility, I walked up one final time. Marcus, I said quietly, the engagement is off. I slid the 40,000-pound ring off my finger, handed it to the officer. This was purchased with stolen funds. Evidence. Marcus stared. Sarah, please. Wing Commander Mitchell. I corrected. And no. I walked away. Didn't look back. 20 minutes later, I boarded the flight to Edinburgh. First class. Seat 2A. The cabin crew, who'd been briefed by James Crawford personally, greeted me by rank. Wing Commander Mitchell, welcome aboard. It's an honor. I settled into my seat, accepted the champagne, and looked out the window as they finished boarding. Row 42. Middle seats. I could just see the tops of two heads. Marcus's mother, Philippa, wedged between a businessman and a teenager with headphones. No Marcus, obviously. He was in mod police custody. The flight attendant leaned in. Ma'am, Mr. Crawford asked me to tell you that your return flight is also first class. Compliments of British Airways. With our thanks for your service. I nodded. Please thank James for me. As we took off, I thought about Marcus's smirk. His casual cruelty. The way he'd said, this is all you can handle. He'd been right about one thing. I couldn't handle his fraud, his lies, his theft from military personnel. So I'd stopped handling it and started documenting it. Marcus was sentenced 8 months later. 4 years for fraud, 2 years for theft, 18 months for falsifying government contracts. Sentences to run consecutively. 5.5 years total. Philippa? She was investigated as well. Turned out she'd known about the shell company. Had even helped set it up. She got 18 months for aiding and abetting. The 40,000-pound ring? Seized as proceeds of crime. Sold at auction. Money went to military charities. As for me, I didn't go to Edinburgh that day. I canceled my hotel. Flew back to London that evening. First class, naturally. And 6 months later, I was offered a position with British Airways. Head of Military Liaison and Veteran Services. My job now is to ensure that serving personnel and veterans are treated with respect when they fly. We have a flagging system. If anyone, staff or passengers, disrespects military personnel, it's reported directly to me. Last month, a businessman tried to make a Royal Marine move from an exit row seat. Said the Marine didn't look capable of helping in an emergency. The Marine was a double amputee, Afghanistan veteran, decorated for valor. I had that businessman downgraded to economy, middle seat, next to the lavatory, and I made sure the Royal Marine got complimentary first class for life. Here's what I want you to remember. When someone tries to humiliate you in public, when they smirk and say, this is all you can handle, they're telling you who they are. Believe them. Marcus thought he could diminish me. Thought my worth was measured by my seat assignment. Thought economy was an insult. What he didn't know, I'd flown military cargo planes into war zones. I'd coordinated evacuations under enemy fire. I'd earned the respect of NATO commanders and airline CEOs. His Porsche and his Rolex? Purchased with blood money stolen from soldiers. My uniform? Earned through 16 years of service. We were never in the same class. And I don't mean on the airplane. So if someone tries to put you in your place, if they think your worth is less than theirs, remember this. People who truly have class don't need to announce it. They don't need business class to feel important. And they certainly don't need to humiliate others to feel superior. Marcus learned that lesson in a holding cell at Heathrow. I learned it in the sky. Until next time, this is Wing Commander Sarah Mitchell reminding you, the view from first class is lovely. But the view from the moral high ground? Even better. Signing off.